Welcome back to Grand Park. Kevin Bowen, Brendan King here. The fog trying to burn off. Practice starting in about 90 minutes. Head coach of the Indianapolis Colts joining us now, Frank Reich. And have you ever played in a foggy game? Because I'm thinking, Frank, we might have a little fog today.
Well, it'll be interesting. No, I have not played in one, but we do have a little out here. I'm thinking it'll lift beforehand, but we'll handle the circumstances.
We were chatting with you yesterday on the conference call. You obviously gave the update on Carson. That walkthrough is kind of the next step for him. I think to a lot of people, they hear walkthrough, they think, well, that's not physical reps. So could you go a little bit deeper into that of just what that means for
Carson? For sure. When we're in walkthrough mode, right? We're still. We talk about this tempo of being live to the snap. I kind of learned that from Peyton Manning and Jim Caldwell. And what that means is, you step in the huddle. It's like you're in the Super Bowl. You try to put yourself in that mindset. You call the play. You break the huddle before the ball is snapped. The quarterback's calling out, making his calls. The line's making their calls like you're in a game. But then when the ball snaps, you just walk, or you light jog. So that's why those reps are so valuable. And as a quarterback, or really at any position, you actually get to see things play out a little bit, and there's a big advantage to getting those reps.
You said next 2 weeks will be really critical. I assume that means some field work will happen within the next 2 weeks for him, and that's when you get a better idea of where in the 5 to 12 weeks he is.
That's right. And we'll start the walkthroughs this week, and then he'll start doing some field work here, and then we just got to see how, as that goes, how sore does it get? How much pain is he in? We do know with his injury, I remember talking to the docs, Kevin, at the front end, that this is the injury. Like, there's some things you have a surgery, and then you go back, and then once you start doing it, you're like, hey, I don't want to re-injure it. They're saying that what I'm hearing is this isn't one of those injuries.
Right.
It might get a little bit sore, but, hey, you're not in danger of making it worse. It just might slow the healing down or slow the progress down. But so we'll see how that goes this week.
I guess to cross off all of our David Porter clients before we move on, we did see Quentin out here watching practice a little bit last week. I think he had a boot on for a couple days. Should we make anything of him in a boot for a couple days, whereas Carson wasn't?
No. Quentin's doing great. He's at the same spot that Carson is, so I would anticipate it'll be much like that with Quentin as well.
Hey, Frank, where do you think Carson was before the injury? At what stage, how happy were you with his development?
Really happy. I mean, I wish we could have seen a little bit more practice, but we had talked so much in the offseason, and he had done a lot of work on his own. When they weren't allowed to come in here, he was out, doing workouts, working with his quarterback guy, and working with the receivers on his own, sending me, I could see video or whatever occasionally. So we get a chance to talk a little bit. Then you see he come in and just his approach, his mental approach, and where he was at physically, man, he just looked strong. The ball was coming off his hand hot, and looked good.
Scott Milanovic, I remember saying mid-season form. He kind of felt like at that Thursday practice, I think 8 of 11 when he ended up getting hurt on that day. Going back to Sunday, Frank Reich, Colts head coach, joined us now on the Fan Morning Show. I was extremely impressed by Jacob. I feel like we sit here and we look at the numbers, and I know how much you love yards per attempt, completion percentage. I mean, those numbers were pretty eye-popping there. And yet we also sit here and talk about, pocket awareness and pinpoint accuracy and progressions. Like, there is room for improvement, but yet he still produced some very impressive numbers.
Very impressive numbers. And then, we had the deep ball to Kylan Granson.
Which should have been a catch in my opinion.
Which was close one way or the other. So you talk about the percentage and the yards per attempt, that's just going to jack it up there even more. So, I thought he looked good. Throwing the ball, in his progressions. There's maybe one or two plays where you want the ball just coming out a little bit quicker, but I thought he looked great. And then, mentally, I thought he handled himself well as far as, getting us in and out of plays that we wanted to. But there again, there's still a couple plays. And here's the next step that he has to take, and this is just normal. Like, I don't want to make a big deal about this. This is just normal. But in the course of a game, there's 10 to 12 plays that a quarterback has to do something to get you in the right play or to make the right call to make the play right. And so, and we want to score 100% on those. And we didn't score 100% on those in the game on Sunday, either quarterback, so that's where we can get better.
Is there any thought, and I know you've said that Sam will start on Saturday and play about a half with the starters. Is there any thought to committing to Jacob and saying, he needs starting work in the preseason, and if he doesn't get that till week 3, do I worry about him being ready, regular season wise?
Yeah, no, no, a fair question. We feel like he'll get a lot of work. We'll start Sam. We feel like he's earned that, and Sam went out and looked good on Sunday as well. So, we're just going to let that play out this week. We'll get them both a lot of reps, and then, we'll reevaluate after the game and see how it goes for week 3.
Frank, of course, Jacob Eason trained under Phillip Rivers last year. Didn't get on the field, but with Eason's preparation now, especially off the field, do you see any Phillip Rivers type in him of how he goes about his job?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, because it's hard after you spend a year like that. Usually some of that does rub off on you. And probably as much as anything, what I would hope would be the preparation before you get on the field, in the meetings, just seeing how Phillip was. But as far as style of quarterback play, I probably need to see a little bit more. But then again, there's nobody like Phillip Rivers. I mean, there's nobody like Phillip Rivers. Come on now. I mean, his pocket presence and that's like doctorate level stuff, what Phillip would do in the pocket and the throws that he could make from the pocket under tight pressure. I still marvel at, and the accuracy and all those things. But, certainly that year with Phillip was great for Jacob to see his mental preparation going in.
Frank Reich, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us. A little less than 90 minutes until the Colts get back to work here at Grand Park. If any, Frank, how much will the look of your offensive line and health of that group dictate if you have to go to Jacob or Sam week 1?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to factor into who plays quarterback. We're just going to, whoever's there is there. I mean, that's our approach. So, hopefully all those guys get healthy. As was said yesterday, Ryan Kelly, I think, will get back on the practice field this week. Quentin's making progress. Eric Fisher, we think is making good progress, but we still wait and see. And we have confidence in those other guys. And so whoever ends up, winning the backup quarterback job, if they need to play week 1, it's not going to be determined by, hey, well, we think Sam is more mobile, and if Quentin's not playing and if Eric Fisher's not playing, we better play the more mobile quarterback. We'll just let it play out, and we'll choose our guy and go.
Obviously, I know nothing, but I watch Eric Fisher on the side here. I'm thinking, that dude looks close. I mean, is week 1 a possibility for him? Like, he looks like a guy that, I had no full pads. It's a whole different story, but.
Yeah, it is a different story, but you're right, because I've said the same thing to myself. I've made the same, as we're walking off the field and he's over there doing his work, and there's been once or twice I've yelled over there, put some pads on him. Because I know that's the next step in the progression, and we're not going anywhere until we get those pads on for a little bit. So I'm sure, and I've talked to Eric, and he's doing well. But as we know, that's an injury that you don't want to mess with. And so you got to let it do what it's supposed to do and feel right about it before you get those pads on and then take that final step.
So a chance for week 1 or still?
I have not even tried to wrap my mind around that. Like, probably I'm hoping that could happen, but this whole off season, I wasn't thinking that was a possibility. I wasn't thinking that was a possibility. And then, as you said, Kevin, the times I see him out here, I think, maybe it is a possibility. And I haven't pressed him, and I haven't pressed the trainers because, because of the nature of that injury. I just think we need to be disciplined and let it take its course. And I'm going to just trust the docs and our trainers and Eric to say, hey, I'm ready to go. And if so, great. If not, hopefully it'll be early in the season.
Frank, is there anything you specifically remember from your first few sets of snaps in the NFL that you've tried to pass along to Eason and Ehlinger?
What I remember is that it was easier than I thought it was going to be. I happened to watch, just because it was the first start. I don't always get a chance to do this, but I did watch both quarterbacks' post-game press conference, right? It's training camp. These are young guys. I want to see how they're responding. I want to see that stuff too,
right, for sure.
And I kind of heard what Jacob was saying about, they just seemed uncluttered, and when he was saying, I was like, that's right. That's what you should feel. Like, it feels like it just feels easier. The game slows down. That you want to feel that, and I think both guys felt that. That's a good sign.
I was surprised to hear that from Jacob, because I think at times we forget he gets hurt early in that sophomore year at Georgia. The dude has played one season of football in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I know, and it's a credit to him how he looked on Sunday, and but it's also, it makes me realize, hey, a couple of those mental things that we got to clean up. You got to be patient, and understand this is a guy who has a lot of physical talent. He works hard. I love his attitude. I mean, Jacob's got he's very coachable. He doesn't, you can coach him hard. He's got the right approach.
We're going to have Sam Ehlinger on, I think, on Thursday, and I come blown away by him just in press conferences and everything he's gone through in his young life. Can you put into words what the it factor is that I feel on the sidelines, and I'm sure guys in the huddle feel much, much more when watching him? Yeah,
I mean, I think everybody feels he's very seasoned. Unlike Jacob, who didn't play a ton in college. Sam's been the superstar. He's mature. He's been seasoned and matured as a competitor, and I think you feel that in the huddle. It's not a knock on Jacob. I mean, I think guys have confidence and know his ability, and he's doing well. But you just feel that with Sam. You feel that with Sam. You feel he's an unselfish player. You feel like he's a team player, and you just feel like the guy. Like I think on that last drive on Sunday, he's the kind of guy, and people have said this about him his whole career, like he's going to figure out how to make a play to win the game. Like you just believe when he steps in the huddle, like this is a guy who's going to figure it out. And, doesn't have the arm that Jacob has, but certainly we saw how he can make plays with his feet and good decisions.
Frank, I think Sunday also showed us just the wide receiver depth that this team has. And I saw Doug Peterson go up to Mike Strawn in the joint practices. And how impressed have you been with Mike Strawn, especially in the joint practices, Frank, going against a guy like J.C. Horn, the number 8 overall pick? He didn't miss a beat.
No, he didn't. And very impressed with Mike. Well, what I was saying yesterday to some guys is, the physical skills are, really good and big and strong, but I'm just surprised his route instincts, like just how he, when he gets press coverage or when it's zone, he just doing the right thing. He's doing the right thing, and that sometimes it's hard to teach. And and like coming out of a break, knowing when to ease it down out of a break, knowing when to come hard out of a break, depending on the route, finding the right spots in zone coverage. A knack versus press release. When do you got to slip inside? When can you get outside? How do you all those things? Here's another big thing with him: route depth. Usually, young guys cutting all their routes short. You got to get deeper. And he's showing a knack for that as well.
A couple more with Frank Reich, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. I believe Carson's 2 days of work. 20, 25 passes in 11 on 11. If he needs any, how much practice time do you think he would need to be ready to go week 1? Because unfortunately, just not a lot of 11 on 11 up here.
Right. No, I mean, in my mind, he could have, if he was 100%, like I would at the very least want, he's 100% or close, and ready to play and can go into that week and is full go for the week. The perfect scenario.
That Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
That Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. To me, the perfect scenario would be, he'd have 2 weeks.
Right.
I think it's probably not realistic to think that he could have anything more than that. I think the best case scenario, like if we're trying to say, hey, if we're saying that 5 weeks, and if we're saying that week 1 at least is a possibility, then okay, what would we? Let's work backwards. Well, we at least need that week full speed. Preferably, we'd like 2 weeks.
I feel like we ask any new contract player what have they bought with that purchase, so I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't ask you. And I have a feeling, knowing I believe a new granddaughter here recently, you have daughters as well. I've seen Linda up here. I don't know if she had anything that she wanted. Any big splurge? Frank Reich doesn't strike me as a splurger money-wise, but anything with the new contract extension.
No, not since the contract extension. No big purchases since then.
Maybe a new driver.
I did buy a new driver.
Okay.
You're right, Kevin.
Right.
I did buy a new driver, and I feel good about it. But maybe the granddaughters are the most. They benefit the most. So, with some things that we do and get for them, but it's fun. It's fun to share it with them.
I didn't tell Conti this because I don't think he would have brought you on. But last week I'm driving up here early morning for the radio show, and I'm I'm driving into Grand Park, and I think I'm keeping my eyes on the road, and next thing you know, I see you walking, and I mean you catch me out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, I kind of veer to the left. I don't think you were rattled at all. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, can you imagine the headlines? And sure enough, two
local radio host strikes coach.
2 hours later, you sign this extension. I'm like, oh my gosh, even more of these headlines right now had I not seen you.
I was on my way over to the Monon.
Okay.
I was on to do a little jogging over in the Monon, I think. And,
yeah.
So sometimes I get here, just depending on when I wake up. If I wake up early, I'll come to the office first. Sometimes I'll stop right over there, and I'll just park my car in the parking lot there and hop on the Monon for a few miles. And then sometimes I kind of come in, do a little bit of work, and then I sometimes walk over there, sometimes drive over there.
Yeah.
But thanks for not hitting me that much.
Well, yeah, and I am the son of a driver's ed teacher, and I was gripping at 10 and 2 as hard as I could today as I was pulling in there. Frank Reich, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Frank, looking forward to practice the next 3 days, and week 2 of the preseason is here, so I appreciate the time.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kevin. And, hey, I'm excited for you. Congratulations on getting this gig, the morning show. That's a big deal, and excited for you. Know it's going to be great, and happy to be on here anytime you'll have me.
Means a lot. Thank you. Frank Reich right there, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us here on the Fan Morning Show.